I am on mute. Now I am not on mute. This will just happen these days. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our event. We are so thrilled to have all of you. We just did a prep with students, and we're all have a lot of nervous energy and can't wait to start the program. I'm Marjorie Schulman. I'm the executive director of Brooklyn Boatworks. I'm so thrilled to bring you Young Voices, True Stories tonight, a name which was voted on by the storytellers who you will hear from tonight. And the alumni who you'll hear from tonight have been working on their stories for about a month. They've been working with each other to choose and refine stories. If you're new to Brooklyn Boatworks, we're a youth development organization that teaches skill building and social and emotional development through maritime-centered education. And we all know, as I'm talking to you from this corner of my apartment and you're all joining us from the corner of your homes, that social isolation and not being in school is a really big deal for students right now and for all of us, frankly. But what better way to build community and learn about each other than storytelling? The students have been sharing with their peers, have been giving and receiving feedback from each other, as well as fellow storytellers. And in that vein, I also want to very quickly do a shout out for our podcast called Boatcast, which is also a storytelling platform where you can learn more about our students. You can find that on any podcast app. Again, look for Boatcast, which was also named by our students. And I want to thank all of you tonight for enabling Brooklyn Boatworks to have a continuity of services, especially during this time. We have never had to stop our programs since March, and that is because of all of you. And I can't, from all of us, truly, all of our students, our board, our staff, our schools and parents, we're so grateful for the support that you've all provided us. And we've recently begun the Brooklyn Boatworks Builds Community campaign to provide scholarships for our school partners that can no longer support their after-school programming because they don't have funds. I really appreciate all of you who've already donated. If you have not donated, please consider supporting us. You can go to our website, brooklynboatworks.org, to do so. So that's my pitch. Now for the fun. Tonight, you're going to hear from our fabulous alumni, Elizabeth, Esther, Azucena, Carla, Dana, Benny, and Michael. You're also going to see two adults on your screen, or three adults on your screen tonight, two of whom are Brooklyn Boatworks staff, Christian and Rosa. If you want to wave to everybody and say hello. Christian and Rosa are fabulous Brooklyn Boatworks staff members who have been assistant instructors in the classroom for the last month. And I also want to thank Laura Botel, our program manager, who you will not see because she is behind the scenes making sure that tech runs smoothly, but she is a very important part of the Boatworks community. And you will also see Gail Thomas of the Story Studio, who is a storyteller extraordinaire herself and was a lead instructor for the last month. She is our MC for tonight, so I'm going to hand it over to you, Gail.
Thank you, Marjorie. I am so thrilled to be here. I can't tell you what an amazing experience this is. And I think Marjorie covered the magic of stories. And we've done a lot of learning. We've done a lot of growing, all of us, over the last month. The students brought in their hearts and their souls, and we played. We just grew. They've inspired me, and I'm sure that tonight they're going to inspire you as well. I also want to tell you that this is our first time producing a show together, and the students, it's our first time doing a live show. It's the first time that Brooklyn Boatworks is producing a live show. So if you remember how live shows can go, anything is possible. We might have some sort of surprise tonight. You might hear a dog bark. You might hear a siren. Something might drop. There might be a sibling, but we've gotten here. We're thrilled to have you. This is what we've been building toward. And the most important thing is that we're going to share our hearts, and you're going to get to know a little bit about the journey of these amazing young people. Let's see what else I have to tell you. Make sure I've got my little notes here. We're going to have a good time. Basically, that's it. Oh yes, at the very end, after all the stories, there's going to be 7 storytellers. And at the very end, we're going to do a Q&A. if there's time. I think there probably will be. You're not required to stay for the Q&A, but we'd love to have you stay. And basically that would be the time that you can ask the students questions. You can ask the young people something about their story or about Brooklyn Boat Works and what their experience has been like at learning to build a boat, because that's what Brooklyn Boat Works does. I've learned a few new words myself in this process. So I think that's everything. We have the chat feature disabled while they're telling the story. That's a decision we made just to make sure that everybody's sort of focused on the stories. But we will open it up, and we will enable the chat feature at the end of the stories so that you can ask questions and you can participate and let the students know what you're feeling and what you heard and what your questions are. So I think without further ado, it's time, ladies and gentlemen, to bring up one of the things we did also is we asked each of the students, just to help us give them an introduction, we asked them two questions. We asked them what their favorite animal was and what their most memorable moment at Brooklyn Boat Works was. And so our first storyteller this evening, her name is Azucena. And when we asked her what her favorite animal was, she said it was a cat because they're adorable, cute, and funny. And when we asked her favorite Brooklyn Boat Works moments, she said it was when she was learning to make boat tools, how to use tools to make boats, which is fascinating. So ladies and gentlemen, from your homes to our homes, please welcome our first storyteller for the evening, Azucena.
Good evening, everyone. I'm glad that everyone can come to our story. So I have this story, and it's about a little troublemaker cat named Michi. And you must be wondering, oh, what's it? I mean, must be wondering, how old is he? Well, he is 8 weeks old. I got him 1 month ago now, and let's say he's a troublemaker. So ever since I was little, I used to always tell my parents that I wanted a pet in the house, but they always said they said no because it takes a lot of responsibilities, and they said when I get older. But as I got older, I always saw my cousins having their own pets, and I usually get jealous. But one day I was in my room watching television until I heard the doorbell ring, and I went downstairs and opened it, and I saw a box, and I was really curious, and I was like, "What's in the box?" I said, and I asked them, "Hey, what's in the box?" They said, "Oh, you have to find it out yourself." As I opened it, I saw a small cat, and it was so tiny, and it was cuddling itself, and I was like, my heart melted. Weeks passed, and now he got used to my house, his bed, his food. One day, I was in my Zoom meeting paying attention what my teacher was saying as I was writing down notes. And then all of a sudden, I heard a meow. And I was really scared and confused, so I got up and went to the living room. And I was like, okay, what happened? Is he hungry? Is he cold? Is he sick? I thought I wasn't a good pet owner. And then I figured out he was just only hungry. So I gave him a bit of food and went back to my Zoom meeting. As I was paying attention bit by bit, I heard something crash, like if something broken. So I ran and I saw my cat, Michi, drop one of my mom's favorite pots that her grandma gave her to her. And it was a big trouble because for me I was gonna get in trouble. So I was like, oh no, this is not good. I started to panic. And the cat over there was just looking at me. He was like trying to be all innocent. I was like, and then I heard my phone ring. And I answered and picked up, and my mom was like, "Oh, in 3 minutes, I just came out of the supermarket. In 3 minutes, I'll be coming home." And she hung up. And I was like, "Oh no, 3 minutes, I'm not gonna make it." I started panicking. So what I did is I went to the bathroom, grabbed the broom, and started sweeping as fast as I could. Then I heard the downstairs door open, and I heard her coming bit by bit upstairs. And I was like, oh no, not good. I started cleaning up as fast as I can, threw it into the trash, run back to my room, and tried as normal as possible as I could. And my mom came back. She was like, "Oh, I'm back," and I was like, "Hi, mom," sounding all stuttering. And she was like, "What happened?" I was like, "Nothing, mom. Just me being clumsy." I did a nervous laugh, and then she was seeing a little odd. So she looked in the living room and she saw something odd. She's like, "What happened here?" She noticed that her pot was missing. I was like, I couldn't speak because I was all stuttering. And then I was like, okay, it was a cat, but it wasn't his fault. Come on, mom. You know how cats get curious. She was like, okay, fine, but next time if someone breaks or bites my favorite things, you're both of you are gonna get grounded. And I was like, yes, ma'am. And me and him were looking directly, and I was like, you're lucky that I wasn't in trouble. I was this close being it. He just talked back. He was like, meow. And I was like, don't look at me like that. He was like, meow. I was like, okay, whatever, you're lucky. And I went back to my Zoom meeting. Then, as I was doing again, paying attention, again, I heard something fell. And my mom was fast asleep. So she was really tired. So I ran to the living room and he made a big mess. He ended up scratching, taking out stuff from the couch. Everything was broken. There was dirt everywhere, a big mess, a whole chaotic chaos. And I was like, come on, you're kidding me. I just cleaned up something. Now mom's gonna get mad, but she's fast asleep. So I was lucky. So I started cleaning up as bit by bit. And then I saw my mom looking at me. She's like, what happened here again? I was like, nothing. She's like, the cat, right? And I was like, yeah. And I thought she was gonna grab him by the neck and throw him out. And I was like, no, mom, please come on. It's not his fault, I said. And I ended up cleaning it, right? But as I finished, I was so sweaty. I was too tired. And he was there. He was like, meow. I was like, shut up. It's your fault. I got in trouble again. Meow. Meow. We kept talking and arguing. And I was like, all right, whatever. I went back. As I finished school, he was on my lap. And he was like, meow, meow. And licking my face. And I knew he was sorry. And I was like, okay, whatever. I forgive you, I guess. And I ended up dealing with a troublemaker, which I was really used to. And now I'm really happy that he's still here and I can be with him all the time. And
Yay.
yeah.
That was great, Azucena. Thank you so much. Oh, I love Azucena has many, many stories of cat troublemaking activities. We had to sort of narrow it down. And I love how Azucena, you can also see she's actually talking to the cat while she's telling you her story. So she's gonna perhaps give cat talking lessons at some point. She's it's as she was telling us how she's a troublemaker and now she's happy to have another troublemaker to be partners with. Thank you so much, Azucena. Let's give everybody at home on your couches. I know you're clapping. I'll do the clapping for everybody tonight. But that was lovely. It's so exciting to be the first storyteller because it's like, whoa, the show is starting. So we're rolling along. Thank you so much. Um, the next storyteller that's coming to our virtual stage. Her name is Carla. We asked her what her favorite animal was, and guess what? It's a cat. There's a lot of cat lovers in our group. And we also asked her what her most memorable Brooklyn Boatworks moment was. And she said it was the first year when she learned to build a dory. And I guess a dory is a special kind of wooden boat. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to our virtual stage, Carla. Yay!
I just want to thank everyone for being here too, and this is my story. So this was on late August from this year, and I had just learned how to skateboard. So me and my friend Stephanie, we had decided to go skateboarding one time in the morning, and we got up really early that day, so that we wouldn't like um be so the park wouldn't be as crowded. And so as we were headed to Bush Terminal Park, I was really excited, and on my way there, I was like just ready to like skate and have a good time. And we were walking our way there, and I was just like just I was just so excited to like it was something that I had actually done that I woke up for excited for. And we get there, and the park is empty, so we have like enough space for us to like learn like new tricks and everything. And so we stayed there for a couple of hours, and I'm like sweating so much because I didn't check the weather, and I had brought in a sweater with me. So I was like twice as sweaty, and I couldn't leave my sweater anywhere because I was scared someone would take it. So I had it on me at all times and while I was skating. And I didn't take no short breaks nor 5-minute breaks or like no water breaks because I was too excited to like learn new things and everything. So I just kept skating while my friend took like breaks, and she was like sitting and watching me skate. And then we were there for a good couple of hours, and then she decided that like it was time to go home because it was getting time for like breakfast. And she also had to go home because of her parents. But I was kind of bummed out because I wasn't ready to go home because I had just like finally like gotten this one trick like completely like to like the start. So then I was like, yeah, sure, I guess we should go home. But then I told her that we should probably skate our way home. And she was like, yeah, sure, that's totally fine. And so that and so then we were on there, like we were headed back, and where we had entered is like a very rocky area. So we she was like ahead of me because she had like more strength, and like she wasn't tired and I was tired, so I was like slowly skating my way to my house. And so we were like skating, and I see a pebble in front of me, and I didn't like put much mind into it because I was like, it's just a pebble, and like the skateboard would just go right through it. And then and just as soon as like my skateboard hits like the small pebble on the floor and it goes boom, I like lose my balance and I like fall backwards, and my skateboard just goes vroom through the gates. And then I'm here, and then I was on the floor, and then my friend who was ahead of me, she like heard like the skateboard go through like hit the fence, and she turns around and she sees that I'm laying on the floor. And so she like quickly rushes her way to me. And as I'm like getting up and trying to process what was going on, she was asking me all these questions like, are you okay, are you hurt, do you need to like do you need to go to the hospital, do you want me to call your parents, like are you able to get up and like go back home. And as I told her I was fine, that it wasn't a big deal, that like I was still able to get up and walk, and like I didn't want to make a big deal out of it because I didn't want her to worry. So I get up and I grab my skateboard and I tell her, let's just walk the rest of the way. And I was like in like my head was in so much pain, but like I was able to tolerate it, so uh, I didn't like put much mind into it. And so we were walking home, and when she drops me off, and she's like, if you need anything, let me know, and I'll let you know when I'm free the next time to go skating. And so I was like, yeah, sure. And then as I'm like looking for my keys and ready to open the door, I realized that I have to tell my dad and my mom that I had fallen off on my skateboard. So I was like, this could either go good or bad. And really, it was like a good type bad, or like a bad, like a really, like, it was going to be extremely bad. So I was going up the stairs, and I was like going really slowly because I was still trying to like see if it was correct, if I should tell them or not. And so and I was like really anxious, and then I was like, but if I don't tell them, then my head like my injury could be really bad, or like, you know, I wouldn't like be able to like something major could happen. And so I'm going up the stairs and I'm opening the door and I see my dad and he's in the kitchen. And I'm like, oh yeah, I fell. And I like said it jokingly because I was like, I didn't want to like make make it a big deal. And so he sees my head and he sees that there's like a big red like spot in there and he was like, no, we should probably take you to the hospital. I said, no, it's fine, I'll put some ice and everything. And so I go throughout my day. And then the next morning was when I was like, oh, like I'm getting headaches, major headaches, and I'm like, I see the room spinning around and everything. And so I tell my dad that I think it's like the right time to go to the hospital. And so we go to the hospital and I got checked out and everything. And the doctor had told me that I had a minor concussion. And so I was like kind of bummed out because I couldn't go skating for like probably like a month or two. That's what the doctors had told me. But then later on, like a week or two later, my cousin had invited me to go skating with him in the morning. So I go and I'm excited like once again because I was like, oh, this is like a recovery. So then as I'm like, and so we get to the skateboard and I'm getting on my skateboard and I'm realizing that I'm like shaky about it because I was still like traumatized from the fall. So I'm here in my head and like in my head I'm like, I'm gonna fall, I can't balance. And I was frustrated because I can see like my cousins and his friend like like they were like skating and they were doing tricks and all, and I was back to square one. So then I had realized that either I can give up because I was like really upset, or I would slowly improve myself once again, and instead of like rushing myself, I would take my time and actually like learn. And so then that's when I realized that falling was like easy, but then getting up was like the hardest part of it all. And that's it.
Yay. Thank you so much, Carla. Yay. I'm clapping for 40 people out in the audience or however many we have. I'm clapping for the world. That was nice. That was fantastic. It's such an inspirational story. Falling and she when Carla said that to me, we work on our story, she said, I think it's about falling is easy, but getting up is hard. I thought, oh my gosh, bumper stickers, posters. This is beautiful. So thank you so much, Carla. Thank you again. We're going to keep on moving. You can see how each person brings their own personality and their own, and this is the magic of storytelling. It's not just the story, but it's the person telling it. And so the next person to tell a story for us today is Elizabeth. We asked Elizabeth what her favorite animal was, and she said a dog because they're cute and fluffy. I have to agree. I'm a dog person myself. And then when I asked her favorite Brooklyn Boatworks moment, she said when it was meeting new people outside of her school. And side note, she learned to do tools the same way her grandpa did, which I thought was another fun fact. Ladies and gentlemen, bringing to the virtual stage, Elizabeth.
Do you remember your first day in middle school? Well, I do. It started off on a September day, waking up a little too early than I was supposed to. When I went downstairs, I realized that my mom wasn't awake yet. So I go cook one of my favorite breakfasts, which are eggs. After that, I waited for my mom, which felt like 3 years, even though it was actually 10 minutes. When she was done, we started to walk out on a cool September day to school. So on the way there, I felt excited, but also a little bit nervous. When I got there, I started to feel a little bit more nervous because a lot of the kids seemed like they knew each other from school. When my mom asked me if I was fine, I said, yeah, I'm fine. So I waited for my best friend, and we walked into school together, into the auditorium. At that moment, I realized that we weren't going to be in the same class, and I got nervous. My palms started to get really sweaty. So when I'm walking up to my new classroom, I see a bunch of new students and a new teacher. When the teacher takes roll call, I start getting nervous because I didn't know a lot of these kids. So Moving on to the next class, I start getting nervous, but not too nervous. So at the last, right before lunch, I realized that we were going to go to the cafeteria with no teacher. So I started getting a little bit nervous. My palms started to get a little bit more sweatier. While walking down to the cafeteria, right before I walked into the doors, I smelled the aroma of pizza. So I was thinking, it's going to be pizza today. But when I walked in, it was something I didn't really like. It was popcorn chicken. So I took peanut butter and jelly and sat down on an empty table. In like 2 minutes, a girl that I know from my class came over to sit with me, and we started to talk a bit. And then I realized at that moment that we both felt nervous that same morning, and we had a lot in common. During that 45 minutes of lunch, some of the kids from my class started coming over and talking with us. After class, and we talked about how we were all nervous in the beginning and how it's hard to memorize the different stuff. After the bell rang, we went up to the next period class. I started feeling not as nervous, just a little bit nervous because I was nervous to meet the new teachers. So at the end of the day, me feeling totally excited, I said bye to my friends and I met my mom outside. She asked me, how did it go? I told her it was great, and I was honest. We were walking home, and that's when I realized that even starting a new school, separated with my friends, I will make new friends.
Yay. Thank you, Elizabeth. That was amazing. I remember what it was like. As old as I am, I remember what it was like to be the first kid to go to a brand new school in a brand new building. It's not easy. But getting united at lunch, I love the part about the popcorn chicken and getting united with old friends and new friends. And it's a wonderful journey. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. I always smile when I hear your story. And I think Elizabeth's, I love her bedroom too. I love seeing all the fun things in the background. So thank you again. Moving right along. Our next storyteller of the evening is going to be Esther. And when I asked Esther her favorite animal, she said it would be a dog. And she actually said specifically a Shiba dog that she likes because they're fluffy. And then when I asked her her favorite Brooklyn Boatworks moment, she said when it was learning about lofting and drafting, which I guess lofting is this where you have to draft. It's a technical transfer of curved lines from mylar to wood. So it sounds like it's sort of like a sewing pattern that you learn how to transfer over so that you can cut the wood. And that's something I want to learn to build a boat. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, bring to the stage Dana.
Esther.
Sorry, Esther. I'm so sorry. Esther.
Hi. Okay, so I still remember the last day before quarantine clearly in my mind. Though I know it's been more than half a year since it happened, it feels like it was literally yesterday. The day started off as usual. I went to all my classes, messed around with my friends at lunch and recess, and I listened to Mr. Goldbright yell about how much he loves rocks in science class. Like, dude, it's been 5 units since we finished that. Just like, get over it, man. Anyway, I had music last class, and the teacher decided to play a movie. So none of us were really paying attention. Sooner or later, this teacher walks into the classroom and tells us that there might not be school the next week because of rise in corona cases. And she says whatever she had to say, and as soon as she walked in, she left, and she went to go tell all the other kids in all the other classrooms. Me and my friends just kept goofing around like nothing happened, but we were all kind of nervous, or I was at least. Um, so sooner or later, the bell rang, and we all burst out of the classrooms into the hallway, and I made my way through a sea of middle schoolers to my locker somehow. I could see as I was passing by that they had set up a table with Chromebooks and books in case anyone needed them, didn't have them at home. We had all kind of known what was going to happen at some point because about a week before they had made us all set up like Google Classroom accounts and everything in case, anything happened. So I guess we were all just kind of waiting for when it would eventually happen. Um, so I made my way to my locker and I got anything I might need, any binders, folders, and stuff in case we couldn't come back on Monday. So I got my stuff and I started walking out the door with my mom when I ran into my friend Auden. We did our usual handshake, and he turns, looks me in the eye, and says, "I'm actually pretty scared." And all I could think to say was, "Yeah, I am too." I I rode the bus with my friend Sumaya, and I rode the bus with my friend Sumaya. And when we got off and said goodbye, I didn't know it at the time, but that would be the last time I saw her in a while. The next day, I wake up on a cold, chilly Saturday morning, and my mom tells me that that school's canceled. That's when I started kind of freaking out. I'm an only child, and I don't have many friends in my neighborhood. I rely on school to see most of my friends, and they all live near the school, so I didn't really know what was going to happen or how I was going to be able to stay in contact with them. I mean, obviously, we could talk online and like through a screen, but it's just like not the same thing. My mom was also really like panicked about the virus when quarantine first started. I don't remember going outside until like the end of the first few and uh, I don't remember going outside for the first time until the end of the first 5 months. I realized in quarantine I tried to keep myself busy, doing like random like crafts and trying to improve on my art, whatever I could do to keep my mind off things. And I realized how much I missed like going out for just like any normal walk around the neighborhood. Just felt weird to me now. I eventually in August did get to see my friend for the first time, and I didn't really know how to feel about it at first. I was kind of nervous and excited at the same time because I hadn't seen him in 5 months, and I thought it was gonna be like awkward and weird, or I don't know. So I saw him at this park near the river, and I didn't know what was gonna happen. It was kind of awkward at first, and I was getting kind of more nervous by the second because I don't know. Like I felt like I had kind of lost a bond with him or something. I don't know, but eventually we did start talking like and goofing around like we usually would, and I just felt like really relieved because we made it, we did it, and like even despite everything that's like happening and everything that's happened and the whole pandemic situation, I um some things are still, the same. And I realized that there's lots of things in life that you should be grateful for, and that, um, everyone, I think, has learned a little bit about themselves or their family or, you know, anything during quarantine. And, I just think that we're a lot stronger than we think we are.
Yay. Thank you so much, Esther. That was beautiful. Ah, the courage of telling. One of the things I love about Esther's story and all of these stories is they're bringing their hearts and souls into the story, and in some cases actually living the story as we talk, as you tell the story. Sometimes when it's closer in time, it takes even more courage because it's a recent event and something we're all going through now. And I know that I've learned a lot. In fact, I just learned that I mixed up the order of people's names. So I apologize for that. So thank you again, Esther. It was really beautiful. I love that story, really. So now I'm going to get the order back on track. And coming to the stage next will be Dana. When I asked her her favorite animal, she also said cat. And she said, because they like to take naps, because Dana likes to take naps. And when I asked her her favorite Brooklyn Boat Works memory, she said it was the boat launch of 2018 and that it was a rainy day. And that I also understand that Dana's mom actually participates in a lot of the trips, the boat trips. So a rainy day, Brooklyn Boat Launch. And ladies and gentlemen, bringing to the stage our next storyteller, Dana. Thank you very much. Yay.
Hello. So my name is Dana Garcia, and I'm going to be telling my story. I used to love going on weekend train trips with my mom and to visit our family. And picture this, 3 years ago, I am sitting at Penn Station and I am waiting for the train to arrive. And my mom's in front of me and I'm bored and exhausted. Suddenly, out of nowhere, people started screaming, "There is a bomb." And I was in shock. And I couldn't believe this was happening. And my mom immediately grabs my hand and to my understanding, we were 3 levels beneath ground. And I was really scared at that moment. And I wasn't sure what we were gonna do at that moment. So we passed the first floor. It was easy because we were able to just pass by some staircases. But the last 2 floors, they were electric escalators. So it was going to be really difficult to go up the electric escalators. And there was a bunch of people crying, screaming, and trying to save their lives. And it was very chaotic at that moment. So me and my mom, she was grabbing the straps of my backpack and holding on really tightly. She wasn't letting go. And I could see how we were going up the electric escalators. And at that moment, it was like when the Titanic is about to sink. And I was so scared. And I thought everyone was about to die, including me. And I was able to turn around and look at all the people around me and going up the escalators. And I could see how a man got stuck due to his pants getting stuck on the electric escalators. And he was shouting out, "Help me!" And no one was helping him because he was by himself and everybody was trying to save their lives. And from a far distance, I could see how some kids were lost and left behind by their parents because they were by themselves and they were crying really bad. And at that moment, with all the strength I had left, I was screaming, "Calm down," because I thought it was going to decrease the panic and the tension in the building, in the room. So, like a miracle, me and my mom get out of the train station and we get out of the train station and we run to a corner of the street. And we could see how some ambulances, police, SWAT, helicopters were all surrounding the building and ready to investigate. And my mom immediately told me we should stay away from the building before something really dangerous happens or before the bomb explodes. So we tried to avoid the station and we walked to the nearest pizza place. And while we were ordering our pizza, we got to the pizza shop. And while we were ordering our pizza, I was talking to my mom and I told her, "I am really scared." And she was holding my hand because I was kind of nervous, right, of all we had experienced. And I told her and I looked at her in the eye and I was like, "I think I am scared of traveling ever again," because I was very traumatized at that moment. And she said to don't be afraid of living or doing anything or traveling, because anything can happen and we live in a big city and anything can happen at any moment. So we shouldn't be afraid of living our life. So that made me feel so much better. And at that moment, I knew I could go anywhere. And I was like, okay, so we could travel to New Jersey and nothing can stop us. So we traveled to New Jersey. We went to One World Trade Center, and we got to One World Trade Center and we traveled safely to New Jersey. And the next morning, I watched the news and it turns out it was a fake bomb attack. However, I learned a great lesson, which was that calming down kind of helped me go through that difficult situation, and that I had a great mom, because if she wasn't there, I don't know what would have I have done if I was by myself. Yeah, that's it.
Yay. Thank you so much, Dana. Dana's a good person to be with in an emergency. Calm down. There's so much I love about that story. I can just see the guy in the escalator. Oh my goodness. And I love mom's good advice is go to a pizza shop and calm down. So that's wonderful. Thank you so much. It's a beautiful, beautiful story. I don't you see everybody, like, you learn from every one of these young people has so many good lessons that they're sharing with us with such vibrant detail. Yes, I'm so proud. Moving right along, the next storyteller of the evening her name is Benny. And when I asked her favorite animal, she said it was a dog. And when I said, what's your favorite Brooklyn Boat Works moment? She said it's when she learned to make the little miniature boats, because apparently she'd already finished making her other pieces of the boats, but she got to make the miniature ones. So without further ado, I'll bring to the stage Benny.
Hi, my name is Benny. So here's my story. This will be the most important day of your life, filled with big opportunities and granted with a better future. Are the words that my father said as we headed off to the driveway at my grandma's house. That was 3 years ago, back in Cameroon, located in Africa. I was 9 back then, and I remember overhearing my parents as I was sitting in the living room right after coming back from another day of school. The people were nice there. They were pretty decent, and I remember overhearing my parents talking about going to a trip to New York. I questioned, New York? And then sometime later, I was wondering and wondering. The next day, I head up to my parents and asked them, where is New York? Where is New York? They say, they end up saying it's the place where we traveling. Traveling, I asked, why? And soon I ended up bombarding them with so many questions. They said, until they said, you'll figure when you'll see it. And but then one last question I asked them was, is the trip permanent? I asked them and they answered yes. And I responded, aren't we got then doesn't that mean we're not going to see our family anymore? And Miss Clarice was one of my very fond teachers. She's been teaching me for 6 whole years straight, and she was really nice, really kind. I asked them, aren't we gonna have to say goodbye to all of them? At least we can say goodbye to Miss Clarice. She she is not as backstabbing as some of the people there in our country, which and so they answered. They were actually thinking about saying goodbye to Miss Clarice. The next day, we left off to Miss Clarice's house to say our goodbye, and so um, it was really heartwarming, and I really missed her. A week later, I'm at the airport with my family, saying getting ready to say goodbye. Um, it took hours later. We have we the line Hours later, the line was pretty long. Um, and we also had the line was pretty long, and I also had enough time to play with my cousins for the last time. And then and then we we had to say goodbye soon after the line was getting close, and it was about to be our turn. And so we got a new receptionist, and she also was having trouble and technical difficulties having to read the passports. And so which means we also had to stay for a while, or maybe one, or at least one could sign some more of the paperworks, and have the rest of the family leave off to the airplane. And so I really I was real this really scared me that it's actually the airplane was gonna have to leave in 5 minutes. What if he what so I thought, what if he didn't make it? What if the paperwork are so long he actually ends up staying? He was really willing to come to come to New York. I really don't want to leave him. He's my dad. And he also had to carry my sister along. I really didn't want to add more people to the list of having to miss them. And so I clinged on to my mom in fear of getting lost in the crowd, and my stomach was getting pretty was starting to ache. As we got inside the airplane, I looked around. It was really crowded, and I I looked around. Dad was nowhere to be found, and so I asked Mom, "Do you know where Dad is?" She couldn't reply, and so I asked, "Where are my siblings?" She said, "They're at the seat right in front of us." So I I decided to ask them if they knew. Do you know where that is? And so um one of them one of them just so casually actually answered, "He's right over there at the front." I couldn't actually see him. It was still crowded, and so I kept staring at the area if I could see that if that was still there. And soon there he was. And then I let out a relief sigh and back down to my seat. I got pretty interested, and I never knew how an airplane looked like from the inside. So I got really curious. we had iPad for caution purposes and warning, and also for announcement purposes, and also for entertainment. And so later on, I got able to watch a movie, which it was pretty nice, really beautiful, really inspiring. It had the same topic revolving around what I learned, and I and soon things were starting to look up, and so I was getting really relaxed. I really liked the airplane. The trip was pretty, and so, late and then we arrived by the time we arrived to New York. I was curious to learn what other things were is there to see and learn in New York. Which got me a bit more enthusiastic about staying in New York. And later on, I realized my parents were right. They were right about having to look up to such a change. And so from now on, I always look up to change in an optimistic way. Thank you.
Yay. Thank you so much, Benny. Oh, inspirational. I wish we could all be in a room together, because I want to tell all my young storytellers that if you were in a room and we could see all of your audience, there'd be smiling and big cheers, because you guys are doing a fantastic job. Benny, that was amazing. What courage to go to a whole new country. Where is New York? Oh, amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I actually just learned a few minutes ago that Benny was the outstanding student at the 2019 spring party. So all the way from not knowing where New York is to building boats and being an outstanding student as a boat maker. So that's wonderful. Great job. So I can't believe it. We're actually coming, our next storyteller is our final storyteller of the evening. It goes so fast. So remember, stick around if you have questions, because the students if you have questions about their stories or questions about Brooklyn Boat Works or really anything, we'll be here. You'll be able to see all the students on the screen. We're all going to take a bow together. So please stick around if you have some questions and you want to participate in that after the show. So anyway, our final storyteller of the evening, apparently his name is Michael, and he has been with Brooklyn Boat Works the longest. He actually built his first boat in 2014, so he's a real pro. And when I asked him what his favorite animal was, he said a wolf, because they're really cool. And then he said his favorite Brooklyn Boat Works moment was the Oliver Hazard Perry trip. So apparently there's a lot of really cool trips, and I want to get more involved in Brooklyn Boat Works. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Michael.
Hello, everyone. I like to start my story by saying I'm the luckiest guy I know. Between Brooklyn Boat Works, which is an opportunity, which is a gift that just keeps on giving, with so many opportunities and adventures, and getting into a nationally ranked high school, and then getting into an amazing track program. Everything has just sort of worked out for me. So this track program of mine has like 150 to almost 200 kids, and it's very competitive. It's very competitive. And everybody there is like brothers and sisters to me. So one day, it's a beautiful day on the track, and my coach is doing roll call, and he calls everybody up, and he says, our team got into counties, which is really big because county championships it's really selective and competitive to get into, and it's hard. So he excuse me. He tells us, he goes through the list of kids who got in, and he finally gets down to my team, the 4x2, which is a relay well, 4 kids hand off a baton after 200 meters. And he tells us that Chris, Jack, and Anthony and Michael got into 4x2 relay. And I was initially overjoyed by this. I was like, this is a huge accomplishment. And I was just on cloud 9. I was floating. So that initial enjoyment and excitement faded. Because then I realized my team was not qualified to go in. I mean, this was the big leagues. And I was just completely overwhelmed with anxiety and fear. So I immediately got to work. I stayed late after practice every day until like 6 p.m. and I would hit the gym and I would practice my starts, and I'd do all this in hopes that I'd finally be qualified to really race against these, I guess, titans. But then I realized that I'm the only one there staying late. My team was not there with me. And you can't run a relay on one person. So I talked to them, and it was as if they didn't care, or they didn't seem to be as excited as I was. So staying late and doing all this, it almost felt just for nothing. So the weeks go by, and counties approaches, and I'm training and I'm going, and then it finally comes to the day. And you'd expect it to be a gloomy day or a rainy day of sorts, because all this anxiety and fear building up, you'd think. Excuse me. But it was not. It was a beautiful day, and we get on the bus, and I'm sitting next to these guys, and I'm trying to talk down to them, be like, hey, everything has led up to this. So we finally get off, and we enter St. Anthony's, which is a huge complex, and it's beautiful in there. And the hours go by, races after race, and my race just happened to be last. And I go downstairs to try to calm myself. And downstairs, I can do warm-ups, and I can do warm-ups, and I can practice my starts. And I'm trying to talk to my teammates and tell them, like, hey, come with me, but they did not. So this only added to the fact that I felt completely unprepared to do this race. It's finally time to go upstairs and do the race, and they call us, and I'm the first team to run in the race. And they tell us, all right, get online and get ready to, when they hand you the baton, you go. The gun goes off, and Chris takes off, and he goes down the 200-meter curve. And I'm standing there waiting for him to hand it to me. And it doesn't, excuse me. I was the last one to get the baton. So I'm watching all my teammates run by and go, and we were in last place for almost the entire race. And then we lose like 50 meters. We lose a 50-meter lead. And then it finally gets to me. And all this anxiety I was feeling, all this anxiousness just goes away. I grab the baton and it fades. I feel immediate relief. And I feel the initial gust of wind on my face as I go down the curve, and I'm running. I can hear the crowd roaring. And it's such an amazing feeling. And then before I know it, I pass one person, and then I pass the next. And then I cross the line, and then I wasn't in last anymore. I mean, it was amazing. I crossed the line, and everybody's cheering, and I look behind me, and I had pulled second place. And that's when I realized that all that fear, all that sense of impending doom of this one moment in my life, it was for nothing. Because as much as I like to think that I'm the luckiest guy I know, I worked hard for this, and I stood late, and my perseverance and dedication paid off. Thank you.
Yay. Oh, oh, that's amazing, Michael. I love, love, love this story. Can you imagine taking the whole team from last place to second place on his own shoulders all by himself? The relay race. And I think it's so appropriate that Michael's our final storyteller, because we're handing the baton to him and he's running with the wind in his eyes and the cheering of all the audience. It's just I could see it. It's like a movie that you can just see Michael coming. I pass one person and then I pass another person. I mean, that's amazing, Michael. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And another little fact I just got about Michael was that he was the star of the 2015 Brooklyn Boat Works video. So if you want to see Michael when he first was learning to build boats, you can check out the videos on the Brooklyn Boat Works website. So I can't believe we're actually at the end of our show, but we are still going to talk. I want to introduce you. They waved at you earlier, but I want to bring on screen actually Rosa and Christian, who are, if you can raise your hands, put your hands up for me, Rosa and Christian. These were my partners in crime. Really, we could not have done the stories without them. They helped in all the classes, and then they met privately with the students and brought us across this line. I mean, I think relay is so perfect. It's like we sort of had the relay of our storytelling workshop, and now we've crossed our finish line. I'm just so proud. So I think we can open up the chat feature now and have our audience members ask questions. I think Laura's brought all the storytellers on screen, and you guys, if storytellers, if you could turn on your videos, and there's Marjorie. So you can also see Marjorie. And if there's questions from the audience, we can ask questions. And you guys, actually, if you want to ask your fellow storytellers questions, you can do that too.
And Christian and I just want to say a brief hello.
Oh, please. Sorry.
I'm Rosa. We've been working with these young people for the last few months, and each and every one of you, we're just really, really proud of you. And I know not everyone has been here since the beginning to see the progress that we've made, but there have been some really beautiful moments, and I'm just like blown away and can't wait to see your stories years down the road and what this storytelling experience will be like. So wasn't that great? Thank you for joining, and thank you, Gail, for having us.
Thanks, Rosa. Christian.
Hey, everyone. I just want to thank you young people for being so dedicated and showing up every single week. It's not easy. And I thank you for just being devoted to this project. And thank you for everybody for joining us tonight. And we want to remind you that if you would like to support any of the work that we do here at Brooklyn Boatworks, please log on to brooklynboatworks.org. Please support the work that we're doing so we can keep going. Please support the work of these young people. And again, young people, it's nerve-wracking to be at home, to be performing, but listen, don't be hard on yourselves. Even if you didn't feel like you hit it, you did, because you made it to the finish line. So thank you everyone for making it to the finish line with us, and have a great evening. And please ask us any questions, ask our young people questions about the amazing stories that they told. There was the stories about the terror, the stories about the disappointment, about the joy, about the resilience. And this is what this is all about. So please, we are so open for you to ask these young people more about their stories. So the questions are open. Here we are, and I will pass it back over to Gail.
Actually, I just remembered, I want us to all do a bow together. All of our storytellers, if you can put on your videos, please. We're going to pretend like we're on a real stage. While the audience is typing in questions, we're going to do our bow. So we'll give the audience a chance to type in some questions. Everybody, all of the storytellers and all of the storyteller instructors and Marjorie and everybody that was involved, put up your hands to the corners of your screen. Carla and Benny, if you're able to join us, and Marjorie. We're going to take a bow when I say 1, 2. Here we go.
Actually,
yes?
I'm so sorry, but mine says you cannot start your video because the host has disabled it. It's not letting me
Oh, that's weird.
Cool.
Who said that? Carla?
Carla said that, yes.
Huh.
I'm sure.
Well,
There you are. Yay, Carla.
there you go. How about Benny? Can we see Benny too? Put our hands up, everybody. There we go. Okay, put your hands to the sides, to the corners of your screen. One, and when you get to 3, everybody take a bow. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Yay! Thank you. We got to make it as much like we're live as we can. So now I'm going to start looking at the questions. I did notice earlier that somebody asked a question, and I think Rose is going to help me with that too. I saw somebody ask a question about how they chose their story.
Yes, Jennifer Williford said to every panelist, actually.
Okay, so let's just go around and maybe we'll just start. Let's just go in the order of the storytellers. If you can tell us how you picked your story. Azucena, how did you pick your story? Azucena, can you unmute yourself and tell your, there you go.
I felt great actually. And I don't know what else to say.
So you picked your story because you had a new cat, I guess, right?
Yeah.
I'm glad you felt great because we sure enjoyed hearing your story. Carla, how did you choose your story?
I guess it was because it was like a recent thing and it was like a big deal to me. So, yeah.
That's a good reason. She's still, and you're still living the story, really. Elizabeth, how did you choose your story?
Because it was new to me, I guess. And I guess if I tell something that's new, it's more inspiring to other people.
That's a great reason. And Esther, how did you choose your story?
Well, I just felt like a lot of people could relate to it, like in the times we're living in and stuff.
Very true. Thank you so much for that. And that's very generous because we all are going through that. So it's a nice thing to share for everybody. Dana, how did you choose your story?
I chose my story by thinking about an impactful event that happened throughout my life. So that was one of them. So yeah.
Okay, thank you.
There.
That's perfect. Benny, what about you? How did you choose your story?
I chose my story because it gave me a big sense of nostalgia when I think about it. It's really not like the other days.
It's true. It's a very special day. Thank you, Benny. And you did a great job with it. Fantastic. And Michael, how did you choose your story?
I chose my story because I thought about a turning point in my life and where I learned to stop doubting myself.
Wonderful. Well, it was beautiful. And you showed it. They all did what one of the things we teach in storytelling is to show, not tell. And you can see how they all gave us these beautiful scenes so we could be there with them. Rosa,
Allison Nash says, thank you so much. Amazing stories told so well. I'm a college professor and my students are always very nervous about public speaking. Were any of you nervous? So see if you were, the audience might not be able to tell, but was nervous. Do you want to raise your hand and talk about how that felt? Or I'm just seeing everyone nod and we're
I think we were all nervous, actually. Does anybody want to talk about their nervousness?
Yeah, anyone want to share?
You can raise your hand if you want to share about your nervousness.
Benny?
Benny? Want to tell us about your nervousness?
So I was really nervous to actually talk in front of a crowd that I actually couldn't even see.
It's a weird technique. It's a whole other thing. I mean, it's one thing when you have an audience. Now you just have to imagine somebody's out there. Excellent point. Anybody else want to talk about their nervousness or how they felt today, how it was for you? Raise your hand. Yes.
I see Esther.
Esther?
I think I literally had like a few nervous hiccups like throughout. Like I just like paused for a second and then I would be like, crap, wait, what was I talking about? Oh, right.
Well, Esther was great. And I certainly threw you for a loop too. I had Dana listed, but then I read Esther's favorite things. So it was like, And that's what happens in live shows. So actually, Esther, I'm really proud of you because you jumped in right there, not expecting it, which is actually, I made your job even harder, and I apologize for that. Anybody else want to talk? Oh, yes?
Oh no, I've just seen more comments and little questions.
Okay. If anybody else wants to talk about your nervousness, if not, we'll go on to the next question. Okay. Rosa?
Soraya said, "Dear storytellers, you did an amazing job tonight. The courage you shared and the amazing stories you told inspire us as your audience to do our absolute best. Keep shining like the stars that you all are. Thank you, Brooklyn Boatworks, for serving as an outlet for Raising Your Youth. You're truly like a rose growing out of the concrete here in Brooklyn." That was amazing.
Wow.
Thank you for saying this. And a lot of people, Joyce says, we're clapping so loudly. And Jennifer Willerford said, "What do you like the most about Brooklyn Boatworks, and what's the most important thing that you have learned?"
So the question was, what's the most, say it again, Rosa, I'm sorry.
What is the thing that what do you like most about Brooklyn Boatworks, and what's the most important thing that you have learned?
Okay, let's go around. Elizabeth, you want to go first? What's the most important thing? Oh, one of the things they're learning is how to do a Zoom show. Anybody want to raise your hand and tell us what you learned from Brooklyn Boatworks? I think we talked about it a little bit at the beginning, but if anybody wants to, yes, Elizabeth, go for it. Yes.
I guess it's how, like, making friends with new kids that you don't know from what different type of schools.
Thank you. Anybody else want to raise their hand on that one? Michael?
I love that Brooklyn Boatworks is like always trying to get us involved. Like I haven't participated in like in a while. I haven't been with Brooklyn Boatworks, but they're always coming back to me and inviting me to do things like this, which is an amazing opportunity. And they're always teaching, like, from public speaking to leadership skills and making friends with everybody. So
Excellent. Anybody else want to share something? I think we could also ask Christian. Oh, yes, Asusena, did you raise your hand? No? Okay. I think Christian was asking a good question about maybe what you guys.
Benny had her hand up.
I think
Oh, okay.
I saw Esther and Benny.
Okay. Thank you so much for see how they're my assistants, guys. This is what I'm talking about. Okay, Esther, what did you like to share?
Yeah, like Michael said, like there's just so many opportunities that Brooklyn Boatworks gives us beyond like boat building and stuff, like leadership skills and that kind of thing. And it's just fun, you know, to do with friends.
Thank you, Esther. Benny, did you have your hand raised?
So I learned from Brooklyn Boatworks Story Studio that you said establishing the settings are really helpful in making the mood that you want your audience to feel and the tone. For example, like a really quiet place, instead of saying it was really, really quiet and deserted, you can also add metaphors like it feels like I could see a tumbleweed pass by.
That's beautiful. I love that, Benny. I feel like you're already writing your next story. So I think that's actually a good question we can ask everybody is why don't we go around and just tell us what you learned from storytelling? And if you think you're going to tell more stories, do you want to tell, would you guys like to do that? Why don't we start with Asusena? What did you learn about storytelling? And do you think you'll tell more stories?
Well, what I learned was that for me, it was like really fun because like, I get to tell a lot of stories to everyone. And most of the time when I tell stories, half of the time my friends will get boring, but the other half will be exciting and interesting. So it's really fun to tell my stories because like I like to express my feelings and telling them how I feel, how I have adventures, and yeah, it was really fun. I was really glad that it came to storytelling.
Oh, good. Okay, let's just go in the order of the people who perform. So the next person, Carla, what did you learn about storytelling? And do you think you'll tell more stories?
Something I learned was adding tension or um actually expressing the feelings and inner thoughts throughout the story. And I feel like I would tell more stories because I actually enjoy telling this story, and I feel like it can also kind of relate to an ELA subject too. So
Thanks, Carla. Yeah, I was telling Carla that I sometimes feel like when you're a storyteller, there's no more bad days because sometimes your worst days are your best stories. Carla fell off her bike for her skateboard, and she has an amazing story. So let's keep going. Elizabeth, what did you learn about storytelling?
I learned that it doesn't have to be made up. It could be in real life. And I would love to tell more stories because sometimes if like someone doesn't have for example a dog or a cat, then you could tell them a story about it and how they
That's beautiful. And then they can understand what it's like to have a dog or a cat. That's exactly about, you guys are geniuses. So Dana, what about you? What did you learn about storytelling?
What I learned about storytelling is learning to more express myself and telling the story so it's not that boring, and not leaving out the important details that really matter and stand out in the story. So yeah.
Do you
Thank you
think you'll
so
tell?
much.
Oh, thank you. Do you think you'll tell more stories someday?
Yes, it is really interesting telling stories, and it's fun because you express yourself. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Esther, what about you? What did you learn about storytelling?
Well, I definitely learned more about the different parts of the story and what's really important, what you should really include and what you should leave out. Because a lot of times when I tell my stories, I put in a lot of irrelevant things, and then I get sidetracked and stuff. So yeah, I think I learned a lot more about that.
Good. Do you think you'll tell more stories, Esther?
Yeah, probably.
I love that. I mean, I guess the answer is always yes, right? Because in life, we're always telling each other stories. That's one of the things you can't help, but even it's hard to say no because that's what we do. So what about you, Benny? What did you learn about storytelling? I think you've already told us some, but tell us more.
Yeah, but I can add on.
Oh, good.
So I learned that detailing is good, but try not to bombard your audience with too much detail but in the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm already going to get you guys to be my assistants. This is fantastic. And Michael, what about you? What did you learn?
I learned that storytelling is more about showing your audience about what happened and how you were feeling, and less of describing it, like just telling it out, right?
Uh-huh. And do you think you'll tell more stories,
I think
Michael?
it will.
I
Yes.
forgot to ask Benny. Do you think you're going to tell more stories?
Yes.
Okay. So Rosa, help me out. I know we're coming on overtime with the show, but if there's any
Coming
more.
on overtime, we just have a lot of beautiful shout outs. Everyone thinks you're an inspiration. Carl says that. Betty, you did great. Everyone did great. We got a lot of lovely comments.
Yeah, a big thank to all the storytelling boat builders. You're an inspiration. Yes. So I guess this is the time to thank our audience and thank our storytellers and thank Brooklyn Boat Works. And you guys, thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing your stories. And I guess that's it. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening.